Wendy Lee from the University of Otago.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Wendy is going to look at Singapore and the issue of Nepalese migration to the island of Singapore. Over to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Henry. So with the topic today, it is derived from, it's an aspect of my PhD thesis. My PhD thesis is on Nepalese chadparva in Singapore music and identity in transcultural settings amongst the Nepalese in Singapore. That's my PhD thesis, but we're looking really at just the music instruments today. And I'm gonna do a live presentation if it's all right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Lee, a PhD at the University of Otago. My topic for today is ethnography study of the Nepalese chadparva in Singapore, physical representations of identity and culture. Singapore is an island nation, which consists of one main island and smaller islands close by. The island nation is just a tiny dot on the world map, with just an area of 728.6 kilometers square. Its resident population is made up largely of a culturally diverse Asian population. The official categories include Chinese, Malay, Indian, and other, which is commonly referred to as CMIO. The ethnic composition consists of 74.3% Chinese, 13.5% Malay, 9% Indian, and 3.2% others. So according to the Department of Statistics Singapore 2015, Nepalese ethnicity is categorized under the others ethnic groups. As on 2020, out of the 5.5 million population of Singapore, 28.9 is made up of foreigners. In other words, foreigners make up almost 2/5 of the country's total population. Of Singapore's total foreign population in the year 2011, 4,000 of them were Nepalese. However, with the move in tightening the rules for employing foreigners in Singapore, the non-residence figure is at a record low today, declining from 6.9% of the population in 2011 to only 2.1% of the population in 2015. This study focuses on Nepalese who came to Singapore mainly during the third wave of the Nepalese migration as the new Lahars. Nepal has a net migration rate of 0.386% of the population. Most of them left Nepal in the 1970s for job-related reasons. Since then, many Nepalese have traveled out of Nepal for study as well as work. At the same time, there has been a significant influx of migrants in Singapore. So, what is chadparva? Chadparva in the Nepali language denotes festivals. The word chadparva displays the Nepali culture because chad refers to celebration, while parva refers to festival, which embodies the meaning of festivals and the related celebrations. As the Nepali language originates from Sanskrit, it is no surprise that the word parva is also used in the Hindi language. The sites of festivals are contact zones in which the Nepalese and Singapore come together. These sites are highly charged environments with strong interactions from participants. With music being a part of the celebration, Nepalese migrants, despite being a minority group, have contributed to the shift of the music scene in Singapore that once new and growing. The musical contributions at festivals add to our existing notions of space, place, and community, which are already complex in our multiracial society. In creating the music, physical representations such as the Nepalese music instruments are crucial because the musical sessions cannot be made possible without the use of these instruments. And these objects form part of the identity of the Nepalese in Singapore as they make up the frame of reference for the group. Physical representations provide context for the sound of chadparva, for cultural participants are attracted to the music of certain characteristics. These physical representations are benchmarks for Nepalese to expect of the cultural music and festivity that they are to experience. So analyzing the physical representations such as the organology of music instruments, the venue selection, and performance practice helps to form links between music and social life. It is at the festival, through these instruments, the implications of the culture of the immigrants, through the encouragement of a young generation and the assimilation of the identity surface. I argue that the musical instruments adopt the role of bringing people together at the festival site. Diasporic identity is also formed, presented, and reinforced through the cultural performances. Cultural performance can only be carried out with the presence of this instrument. Through music, dance, and cultural presentation, new meanings are constructed. So the theory of this study emerges from the ethnographic study of the topic. So Nepalese chadparva is a festival space that reflects the fluid and evolving nature of the Nepalese diaspora in Singapore through the music presented. It is a space where people make time, come together to celebrate, and share a common purpose as a community. These ritualistic events are usually accompanied by musical artifacts, styles, genres, and cultures whose accessibility has improved due to globalization. Also, with improved cultural flows, people are being exposed to a range of cultures besides the one they inherited from their ancestors. With increasingly diverse cultures, people have options for choosing the culture with which they want to be associated. Festivals derive their appeal from traditional practices. People are motivated to attend festivals due to having the same interest in religion, music, and social experience with similar values and interests. Festivals also provide the opportunity for participants to socialize with others and spend time with friends and like-minded people. In this ethnomusicological discourse, where music is culture, the festival sounds associated with Chabhava are important sounds. They are sounds that people have chosen whether mindfully or by default. These sounds matter. Music is interpreted in context, gives meaning to the participants' behavior. The Chabhava is festivalized to include experiences that resonates with and attract participants in Singapore. With the experience of not knowing who they are or what they are supposed to do in the festival, participants' responsive cultural behavior is authentic and valuable in this discourse while reflecting their diasporic identity. Rites and rituals play an important role in the formation and development of social identities as they tend to celebrate the essence of an identity and mark the transition from one identity to another. Rituals promote group identity, strengthen a sense of belonging, and emphasize symbolic boundaries between insiders and outsiders. As Picard has put it, men and women, insiders and outsiders, young and old, played socially differentiated roles, accomplished socially differentiated tasks, and were attributed to socially differentiated spaces. Festivals provide spaces for attendees to express themselves, constructing various cultural identities based on gender, nationality, ethnicity, religion, and locality. For instance, women's festival jobs include dancing and choreography, whereas men are involved in the construction of the festival site. The main contributions to the discussions throughout this study are interviews with cultural barriers and ethnographic observations. Photographic materials are also used as visual evidence and for discussion. This study analyzes the identity of the diasporic Nepalese community in Singapore in terms of physical representations of objects and music performances. From the data collected, there are three essential factors of physical representations presented at Chabhava: musical instruments, venues, and performance practice. Nepalese musical instruments present at Chabhava make up the main physical component of the Nepalese festivals in Singapore. The role of musical instruments is an important one in Nepalese festivals. For a holistic study of music, interpretation of sounds is necessary through material objects, concepts, and behavior. For this reason, the cultural exploration of musical instruments and spaces is essential as a reference point to the music presented at the festivals. Now, the study of organology is the study of musical instruments. It's like the study of ethnomusicology, anthropology, cultural studies. In ethnomusicology, it is essential to study organology of the culture's musical instruments because it embraces history, culture, and technical aspects of the instruments. Therefore, by incorporating social cultural factors and beliefs that revolve around the instrument would be imbued with social meanings, norms, values, and beliefs, and this helps explain its society and culture. The functionality of the instrument, how people use it in the celebrations, and the way people behave with and around the instrument tells us much about the practice and culture. From these celebrations and behavior, we deduce shifts in the group's identity. Various Nepalese musical instruments were observed to be used frequently by people in the celebration of Nepalese festivals in Singapore. The social cultural factors that accompany the Nepalese musical instruments are investigated by focusing on three festivals here: Satyanarayan, Tish, and Sri Krishna Janmashtami, with the extension of the Festival of Joy. These festivals form a transcultural contact zone, giving them a different environment away from home. By observing the usage of musical instruments at these festivals, we look at the implications of the culture of the immigrants through the enculturation of the younger generation and the assimilation of the immigrants' identity. Satyanarayanan, where is the benevolent form of Vishnu, while the puja of Satyanarayanan is a religious worshipping prayer session of Vishnu. The prayers focus on blessings of health, wealth, wisdom, and sometimes for relief from trouble or sickness. Such prayer sessions are traditional rituals that are held by Hindus around the world. There's no specific date for performing the ritual, but there's a belief that when this ritual is carried out on the day of a full moon, it will bring good fortune. An instance of this particular prayer session was held at the residential apartment of a Nepalese person with the blessing of his house and to welcome good omens into the household. The group of devotees, consisting of a group of fellow Nepalese friends, are not restricted by castes. They sat themselves down in front of the altar as one of them led others in the prayers. The shaka was blown at random intervals announcing the rituals. As an extension of the ritual, musicking is part of the prayer session. Here you see them dancing, and you have the devotees arrange themselves by sitting along the walls of the typical four-wall apartment in Singapore. And then the group of musicians sat along one side of the four-wall room. So you will see the instruments here that they play consists of madal, kaijadi, damfu, shankar, bansuri, tinchu, and an ad hoc drum improvised using a tissue box with the bansuri as a stick. Then participants and couples, single or couples, they took turns dancing to the music in the center of the room. One player would clap the steady beat throughout, providing the tala. At the same time, participants sang the main melody of the music, whereas the bansuri played in unison. The performance space for Satyanarayanan is in the lounge of the participants' residential apartment of not more than 5 meters by 3 meters. At this festival, attendance is by private invitation, so participants tend to be close friends who know each other. The cozy setting plays a part in the participants' spontaneity. With the familiarity that all participants have with one another, the celebration lacks formality. The musician decides on the spot what to play. Music, improvisation, and dances are apparent as participants react musically on the spot spontaneously. So here we have is Tish, another festival that Madal plays a prominent role in is the Tish Festival. The Tish Festival is a vibrantly celebrated festival in Nepal and among Nepalese diaspora. The festival is part of the Hinduism and is celebrated by high caste women. It is a reenactment of Parvati's love for Shiva and focus on obtaining blessings from deities for things such as longevity, for the woman's husbands, for purification from possible sin. During the Tish festival, women are expected to walk in the image of Parvati. As part of the celebration, they fast on the day of Tish. No food or water is to be consumed. Therefore, women in Nepal would sing and dance together in front of the temple complex. However, with the lack of suitable site for women, the celebration of this festival is tweaked to suit the Nepalese community in Singapore. Nepalese Society of Singapore organized this particular event, and the venue for holding the event, Tish, was a rented venue at the Ceylon Sports Club, Singapore. It is an enclosed function room at a cricket ground. There were 10 round tables with 10 chairs, and each set up in a room. There was a mix of music played at the festival, recorded music for stage presentations, and live music was part of musicking. A group of people met at the dance studio before the festival to practice the dance in items. The choice of music for the dance items, which was recorded, is a mix of Nepalese songs. The last item on the agenda was the unspoken traditions that go hand in hand with the festival, a long stretch of improvised dancing and singing. It was traditional that the woman's duty to dance and sing at Tish. The tables were moved to one side of the room, chairs were arranged in one big circle. The musicians improvised on the madao and damfu, while the male and female participants clapped the tala, take turns to improvise the dance on the spot. However, there was no singing observed at the event. The influence of venue is evident in the case of Tish. There were noticeable changes that were observed that evening at the Tish celebration. And one such glaring difference is that, unlike what has been observed in much scholarly research, the Nepalese who came together at Ceylon Sports Club did not belong to just the high castes. Besides the Brahmins and Kshatris, the castes of the participants include Niwa, Gurung, Tamang, and Manga. Without a suitable temple site in Singapore for the Nepalese women to visit for festival, the women worshipped Shiva from their homes that morning before celebrating with their fellow countrymen at the Ceylon Sports Club. Sri Krishna Janmashtami celebrates the birth of Krishna, who is the 8th avatar of Vishnu on earth and is the most important deity among Hindu worshippers. It's a religious festival that is not limited by castes. And this particular event was organized by Radha Maha Satsang in Singapore. Janmashtami is the birthday of Krishna. It takes place annually on the 8th day of the dark fortnight in the month of Bhadrapada, according to the Nepali calendar. Krishna is born at midnight, which symbolizes the arrival of light and which drives away the darkness. Thus, worshipping during Janmashtami is done in late hours. The location for this study was on the second floor of a terrace building at Radha Maha Satsang. The room is as big as a basketball court. The celebrations in Singapore remind of the people's history and the multicultural society that Singapore is today. Devotees went to lengths in preparation for the arrival of Krishna. They fast on the day before the auspicious hour of Sri Krishna's arrival. They also expressed that they treated Krishna as one of their family members and celebrated his birthday as if he was one of their own. They bathed Krishna's statue, adorned him with new clothes, flowers, and jewelry. They decorated the room with balloons and toys, creating the ambience of a child's birthday party. There were also candles on the altar. During the session, devotees' fondness for Krishna was evident. Devotees gathered as early as 7 o'clock in the evening to sing devotional songs and perform dances. Not like the other festivals, there's no limitation as to who can attend this festival. Devotees were of different nationalities and ethnicities, and of course, Nepalese were observed to be part of this celebration as well. Musical instruments used include the harmonium, dolak, bell, cymbals, and shaka. So it is very interesting, really, because 1 minute before 12 midnight, the lights were switched off and the room was dark. Light flashed in the room, whereas thunder could be heard over the sound system, signifying the trauma that people faced before the arrival of Krishna. This added to the dramatic effects and heightened the atmosphere. When the clock struck 12, the room was once again brightened up and all the lights switched on, signifying the arrival of the divine power. The reenactment of the birth of baby Krishna will carry out with the crying of the baby played over the sound system, followed by a dance presentation by a devotee. Immediately after, the procession of Vishnu's avatars, Krishna, Brahma, Shiva, began. They walked down the aisle towards the altar, showering the devotees with sweets. The celebrative devotees jumped up to celebrate with dance and songs. The organizer brought out the cake, cut it up, and shared amongst the devotees. Toys that were battery operated were switched on. A shangha was blown over and over again, announcing the arrival of Krishna. There was lots of noise from the cheering of the devotees as they rejoiced in the arrival of Krishna. Devotees came towards the altar to take turns worshipping by presenting candles, and then slowly devotees excused themselves as they made their way home in the early hours of the following morning. Celebrations continue on the weekends when the reenactment of the ritual is being played, except this time with children as the focus of the celebrations in the Festival of Joy. So, what do I gather from this study? We learn that musical instruments make up the ritualistic events, whereas pairing up with the venues of celebrations reflect the diasporic identity of the Nepalese community in Singapore. Nepalese musical instruments such as madao, danfu, kajadi, tinchu, bansuri, and shankar are exclusive at Chabhava in Singapore. The sounds of music are made authentic with the choice of musical instruments and songs at the festivals. These instruments bring the Nepalese together, allowing them to socialize through the musicking on these instruments. The choice of music instruments in Singapore is different from what is used in Nepal, but people adapt and make good of what they have. Maybe the Nepalese community chose to involve musical instruments in carrying out of their festival. This shows that musical instruments have a status in the Nepalese culture, and they are an essential part of festivals in Nepal, as well as immigrants' lives in Singapore. Translocation is evidently displayed in the physical representations. So the musical instruments that the Nepalese music in Singapore possesses are imported from Nepal. Similarly, rituals carried out in Singapore are also being imported from Nepal. This is possible because of the choice of venues that the organizers make for the celebration of the festivals. The venues allow the rituals that the participants carry out in Nepal to be carried out in Singapore. With the translocation of these physical representations, the recontextualizing of these physical representations is simply placed in a different space, and in this case, in a different country. Thirdly, Singapore is uniquely a multicultural state, and this has shaped how Nepalese identities are maintained or transformed. Nepalese are allowed to carry on with their everyday lives and are allowed to continue to celebrate their festivals and practice their traditions. This is made possible because the Singapore government allows them to do so. Priding themselves as a nation united regardless of race, language, or religion, Singapore's community accepts the Nepalese continuity to express themselves through songs and music in their home language and carry out their rituals as they used to in Nepal. My observation shows that there is a tendency towards conservatism on the part of diasporic communities. Being physically away from their home, the Nepalese in Singapore display social conservatism as they show a strong sense of commitment to the traditional celebrations as seen from the physical representations. They rely on the traditional objects and rituals as close as they can to how the festivals are celebrated in Nepal. This is due to the environment in which they are. Being a minority in Singapore, the participants feel that their culture is important for the survivor. That is, for them, it is important to make known to others who they are, and this is what they celebrate. This is something that makes them different from others. They're celebrating their culture, values, and being Nepalese in the face of the others, of the dominant culture. The changes in performance traditions reveal the shifting culture among Nepalese in Singapore, as there's a shift in the purpose of Nepalese in celebrating their festivals. They are no longer celebrating it because they have been doing so in the past. They are not celebrating it the way they used to be, but the way they choose to be. Also, they choose to celebrate festivals because they want to. Disregard one's gender to improve one's relationship with their loved ones to adjust to the culture of Singapore. It does not mean that everyone understands the true meaning behind the celebration of the festival. As one interviewee put it, one may be celebrating the festival because their parents celebrated. However, for Nepalese devotees away from home, the true meaning behind celebrating the festival could be more than just the festival itself. By carrying out Chapava, it does not make them feel more Nepalese in Singapore, but it is beyond nationality. It is not about what nationality you are. It is more of a philosophy, internal religion that one follows with understanding. Nepalese in diaspora found a sense of familiarity with the atmosphere and ambience created at the festival site. But the sounds created from Nepalese musical instruments, venues, and performance practices. They carry out Chapava with other fellow comrades, regardless of caste, gender, age, religion, but as one identity and on my little tiny country, Singapore. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Very informative and ethnographically rich discussion of the Nepalese festivals as one migrant group, one immigrant group within the island nation or the archipelagic nation of Singapore.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for your guidance.
Any immediate questions or comments from anybody?
It's okay. I'm good not having questions.
No.
So I was wondering, Wendy, we're talking about sort of a group of migrants here from Nepal. And they find themselves in a contained island sort of setting. And I wonder whether in any of your ethnographic observations of their cultural activities, you've seen perhaps the influence or the connection to the islandness of their context. How do they engage with the island? Is there any influence there?
Definitely one of the conclusions that I have with the study of this PhD thesis is that the Nepalese people actually adopted a pluralistic identity. Now with this pluralistic identity, well, I'm doing it the other way now. I'm telling you the results and then let's go back. So with this pluralistic identity, what they have is their own Nepalese culture, and then they adopt the Singaporean culture as well, because you have that group of generation whereby they are born in Singapore. They speak just like any other Singaporean kids with that Singapore accent, slang, colloquialism, yeah. And then again, Singapore itself is multiracial. Again, our identity is one whole big pot of, different cultures. So yes, definitely there is this, they definitely, it shows that their interaction with the local people and how they do it is daily life. I mean, most of them who come to Singapore, they are working in the food and beverage sector. Yeah. So yeah, through their daily lives that they interact with the locals, and also again the children who grow up here, they attend public school. Yeah, they are just like any other kids. And also in the performance, what I saw is that when we have our festivals, local festivals, like for example, Deepavali, they do celebrate their own, the Nepalese, they call it Tiha. It is similar, yet different. Yeah, but it's that same belief of the light chase away the darkness. Anyway, so like with festivals like this, the Nepalese will come out to contribute by performing for the residential area when they have big celebrations. So there's this interaction again with the Nepalese and locals. Am I answering the question? Yeah.
It will be interesting to see how that evolves and how it changes over the years with that interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Then again, I must say though, Singapore is a very young country, 60 years old, and it's yet to see what will happen more years down the road. Yeah, they're still considered young. Yeah, at this point. It'll be interesting to see what happened in another 20 years, 30 years. Yeah.
Wendy, just quickly, do we have different kind of types of Nepalese migrant to Singapore? You mentioned some are born there. Maybe some visit on the short term, some a bit longer, some for lifestyle.
That's right. Yeah, definitely you have that tourists as well. But and then you have that group of Gurkhas. Gurkhas come to Singapore as the so they actually, unlike the Gurkhas in Britain, whereby after they serve the length of service with the military, they can stay in the country. But in Singapore, these Gurkhas signed a 20 years contract, and after 20 years, they have to leave the country. There's no way that they are to stay on. That they are the quasi-diaspora group. It's very cruel. So I do know the children, some of these children of Gurkhas, because I was a teacher. And when the father finished serving their 20 years, they just have to leave. A lot of them went to Australia or Britain, but they find it very difficult to go back to Nepal. And go back into that culture because they are born in Singapore. They're never Nepalese to begin with.
But imagine how cruel. You can stay for 20 years, which is like
exactly.
Grown up.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next question, so thanks for answering it.
But that's that quasi diaspora, and of course that group that stays on because they choose to stay on. Yeah.
And well done for the defense of your thesis.
Thank you. I'm so glad it's over. Thank you, Henry.
Yeah,
And Henry is my supervisor. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. So we were a little bit of a bigger family here today.
Well, it's getting on a bit now. It's yep. Any other comments to Wendy for her presentation? Well, thanks again, Wendy.
Thank you so much for having me at this conference.
I love the videos and the music. It's so great to see, and your idea of 4 images at once. It's I wish I had 4 eyes going into it.
It's just too boring to hear me talk. I thought.
One quick question. I don't think I'd seen this before. In one of the videos, there was a young man with quite long hair, really shaking his head.
Shyam is in my chapter 6. So Shyam is the unofficial musician of the group of Nepalese that I attach myself to for this field work. So anything about music, they will just point a finger to Shyam. So he is this fun guy. No, they do not put on wig in Nepal to play music. This is just something about it's his character. He's a jovial person. So it's nothing to do with the culture. No, they will tell you, no, we are all not like this. Not we, it's just him.
There was part of that video. I don't think I'd seen it before, but it was so good.
I think I didn't really show the videos until now. I bet. Sorry.
Okay.
So Henry, what would you like to do? It's just a very few of us left and we're kind of tired. Shall we play Philip? We have Philip's presentation, but Philip was unable to join us today. It was his father's 89th birthday and he had to travel to be with him. We can play it, or we can also include it on the website when we put the other presentations up. How you guys feel?
Well, my suggestion is that we've officially only got 10 minutes left. And I think some of the others have perhaps dropped out because they have other engagements, and we're all in different, well, some of us are in different time zones. And what about, I mean, it will be put up on the website.
Yeah, we will be putting all presentations up, curating them with text and all the other information, part of today's transcript conversations. So, yeah.
Is there any chance of getting that one up first? So that
we will. That's relatively easy. We can put several of them that have been pre-recorded already before Christmas, so that will be made available.
That would be a good one to get up on site, and then we can, for those who are here, I mean, what are there? 3, 6. There were 8 of us here. We could look at it online and know that it's coming up very soon.
Yeah, we will put it up. We'll put it up. It's a nice recording from Phil, but I think we have all reached, you know, our max capacity.
Yeah.
Maria bravely saw through the whole day.
Well done, Maria.
Seeing you there
Yay.
anchoring us. For
Oh,
the
and
day.
Wendy too. Wendy has been there. Yeah.
And Mickey, but it was a great day.
Mika. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Thank you
had-
very much for having us, Valia, and thank you for inviting me. I've had a great day.
Oh,
Thank you.
It was lovely to have you.